I'm not really sure how to make everything be seen right here, you know, for them to see us.
When you're done there, I
It's not,
Okay,
it's not that important that they see you, as
right,
long as you see the meeting.
correct. And they can also hear us if we mute or unmute. Okay,
Right,
all
because
right.
if there are a
Marissa's
lot
gonna
of
help me.
people,
All right, I'm gonna go to the meeting.
okay.
Hello, everyone. My name's Attorney David Karoyan. I'm counsel for the town of Rockland. We'll start the meeting in a moment. We'll give people a few more minutes to get gathered. Just as a point of order, I would just ask everyone, I believe, is currently muted, which is great. Just to prevent any crosstalk or echo, please ask that you remain muted unless you've been asked to speak. Everyone will be given an opportunity to speak if they want to address any of the items on the agenda today. We received some submissions from multiple people who want to be heard, and if you want to be heard today, for those of you who Zoom, there on the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a reactions tab. It looks like a smiley face. If you click on that, there's a raise hand option. I'll do it on mine. See, I have that creates a hand emoji on the side of my screen in the upper left corner. Through Zoom, I'm muted. We kind of use that. It's the equivalent as if you're in the meeting of raising your hand. So we'll ask if people want to be heard. You can select that saying you'd like to be heard, and we'll kind of process going down the list that way. So again, that's at the bottom of the screen. There should be a reactions icon. Looks like a smiley face. And there's a raise hand or lower hand option. So if throughout the meeting, we'll ask if people like to be heard, you can indicate raise hand. That'll let us know. And if you've been addressed, you can lower your hand. Per town bylaw, if you're going to speak, please just say your full name and address for the record, and then you can address any questions or comments you want to raise for the board. We'll give everyone a few more minutes, but just to be clear, on today's agenda, the board has 4 items before it: a 2022 and 2023 Hometown Leisure Woods rent increase petitions, and 2 individual resident evictions from residents of Hillcrest. The board will vote on all 4 today. Everyone will have a chance to be heard. If members of the board, we have a fair amount of participants. I believe most of the board members are available, but if members of the board are present, please unmute yourself and declare that you're here.
Here, Karen Ripley.
David's Patricia Dennehy. I'm here.
We'll just give the other board members a few more minutes to appear, and then we'll get the meeting underway.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Uh-oh.
Waiting for a few for the board members to appear. If any of the board members have arrived, please just introduce yourself and we'll know you for the record.
I have arrived. I'm Sue Sullivan.
Hi, Sue. Sorry. It's good. I'm good at kind of catching most people. We have a lot of participants today, so I'm trying to
Sure, that's fine.
give it out.
Hi, David. It's Patricia Dennehy.
Yep. Hey, you, Patty. Miss Ripley, I think was waiting on Eileen Cena and Miss Primavera.
Hi, David. It's Carol Primavera.
Hi, Carol, how are you?
I can see it, Joe. Are these people waiting? Are they board members? Sue Sullivan lives in here.
Hi, David. Did you get me in there?
Sorry, who was speaking? Sorry.
Karen,
Yep, have you? I think we're just waiting on Miss Eileen Steen had reached out. She was having a connection issue, but she's should be joining with us momentarily.
okay, thanks.
Who? Who? Oh. Be careful. I don't know who he is either. You gotta scratch.
But just ask all participants if you haven't been recognized to speak, just please remain muted. I will start the meeting momentarily. Just waiting for all the board members to arrive.
Can you all hear me?
Whoa, yes.
Okay. I'm just giving you a sound check. And M. Duff, can you tell me your first name? Sorry.
My?
No, no, not Susan, no.
Okay,
The group in the community room.
Leisure Woods.
Yep. You guys can hear me in the community room. Can you give me a wave? Yeah, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
We are up at Leisure
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, we can hear you and you can hear us. We're just waiting on a couple more minutes and then we'll get started.
But there was a brief technical issue. The board member Sina will be joining us momentarily.
Okay.
Mute sound now.
Yeah, that's. Right.
Mhm.
Okay, this is Eileen. I'm in the meeting.
Hi, Eileen.
Or Eileen, were you able to join the meeting? Give her one more minute, then we'll start.
Yeah, David, I think she's on the 781 number with the 562 at the end. Right, Eileen, is that you?
Well, all right, well, we have enough present members to resume. I think if seeing as she might be having some technical issues, if she reach out to her, she'll join us if able. So, like I said, the two of the primary items on the agenda for the board today are the 2022 and 2023 rent increase petition submitted by Hometown Leisure Woods. Attorney Radigan, are you present in the call?
I am, David. There I am.
I believe you're unmuted, but I don't know if we can hear you.
I'm here. Shall I start? Is the board ready to hear from us?
Oh, yeah, John, yeah, we're not, you're not coming through any audio.
Hold on.
I apologize. There
I'm
might have
hearing
been an
you.
error on my end. I apologize. All
I
Okay.
hear him.
Yeah, we hear him.
right, perfect. Thank you. That was my, this looks like usually only an audio issue on my computer. So
Can everybody hear me now? Great. Thank you very much. So my name is John Radigan. I'm a lawyer at DLA Piper. My address is 33 Arch Street in Boston. I'm representing Hometown Leisure Woods. And with me today on this Zoom call are the Leisure Woods Rockland Community Manager, Josephine Santa Fe, and the Regional Manager, Kyle Howison. Josephine and Kyle will be happy to answer any questions from the board, happy to take notes on any comments that any of you make. They'll take good notes and suggestions, follow up with them if that's appropriate or if you're interested in that. But the purpose of the hearing tonight, as you probably know, is to consider the applications for two general adjustments to the rent at Leisure Woods for 2022 and 2023. Under the rules and regulations for manufactured housing communities in Rockland, Leisure Woods is entitled to apply at the beginning of each year for an annual increase in the rent rates. And under your rules, if we limit the rate in request to an increase in CPI, which we have done for both of the years that are at issue, you will approve it. The rules also say that when increases are approved, they take effect each February 1st. So a brief history. In 2021, Leisure Woods submitted a petition. I should start out by saying that the rents at Leisure Woods haven't changed since the current rates were established in February of 2020. That's nearly 4 years ago. In 2021, Leisure Woods submitted a petition for increase that was withdrawn and later resubmitted and denied by the board. We have not resubmitted or appealed or furthering that 2021 rent increase. In 2022, Hometown submitted its petition at the beginning of the year. The Rent Control Board scheduled a hearing. It then rescheduled the hearing till March 10th, 2022. I know many of you were at that hearing, as I was. At that March 10th hearing, the Rent Control Board improperly denied the 2022 request. Hometown filed a lawsuit to challenge the denial of that 2022 request. And due to the denial and the court challenge, there was no rent increase in 2022. At the beginning of 2023, Hometown submitted its petition for a 2023 rent increase. Due to vacancies on the board and the failure of the town to fill those vacancies, the hearing on that request took 11 months, and here we are. On June 29th of this year, 2023, the Plymouth Superior Court ruled that the board's denial of the 2022 request was improper on the grounds that an annual rate adjustment that does not exceed CPI must be approved. The court ordered the board to reconsider the request, and that's the first matter to be discussed tonight, is the reconsideration of that 2022 request. The board also scheduled this hearing for the purpose of considering the 2023 request that we filed at the beginning of the year. As I've just said, Hometown Leisure Woods has been required to wait 23 months for the 2022 rent adjustment and 11 months for the 2023 adjustment. We regret that homeowners will now need to catch up their 2022 and 2023 rent increases. We know that's a burden. We would not have it that way. We would much rather have a steady and slow and predictable rent increases and not do it the way it's happened here, but it happened and we're here. And we regret that this is how it has to happen this time. Another thing that we regret, and we're embarrassed about this one, is that we sent to each homeowner in the community a notice a couple of weeks ago about this hearing, and we set out the rents for going forward if the board approves the 2022 and 2023 rent petitions. Those rents are correct. However, we also sent a note saying how much the catch-up payment is, and the catch-up payments are wrong. Somebody made a mistake in calculating the catch-up payments, and we regret that, but they were all understated, I'm sorry to say. After the hearing, if these petitions are approved, right after the hearing, in the next several days, Hometown will send each homeowner a corrected notice that fully explains what the back rent is and how it was calculated. But most of all, as I said, we feel badly that we have to charge catch-up payments, and we recognize that a catch-up payment that just suddenly appears is difficult for people. And as a result of that, Hometown has proposed and will accept the catch-up payment over a period of 12 months. So people can spread that payment over 12 months of 2024. I want to thank everybody who is a current member of the board for serving on the board so that Leisure Woods and other communities in Rockland can get back to steady, predictable rental rates and no surprises. Thank you very much for your attention. And as I said, we're here to answer any questions the board may have or listen to comments that other people may have.
Yeah, so this stage before the board moves to make a vote, I think we'll do so. Just to be clear, so the board is here to discuss the 2022 increase of 5.3% and then the 2023 increase of 7%. I would advise participants again that the first increase is subject to a court order in which the board has been mandated to increase, to approve the increase after finding that the rejection was improper. And residents, if you'd like to be heard on either increase, you can indicate with, as I said before, of the raising the hand icon if you want to be. We have received a variety of submissions of any residents want to be heard on these matters before the board votes. This would be your opportunity. I would just advise that, as Attorney Radigan artfully put, per the board's regulations, the board is limited in its purview to the parameters in which it can approve or disapprove a petition. So far as it complies with CPI, which both petitions do, barring a submission of a pending housing court claim or a Board of Health order or decision, the board cannot reject a petitioned increase if it's compliant with CPI. But with that in mind, we'll give everyone an opportunity to be heard. And as I said before, just please state your full name and address, and then any comment or question you have for the board or Attorney Radigan. So first will be Ms. Nancy Holt. I'm going to unmute you, and you may present the question you wish.
Nancy Holt. I live at 17 Canterbury Lane in Leisure Woods. I'd just like to know what the figures are that are correct instead of the incorrect figures. You know, do you have the calculated figures that you can tell us what the missed increase would be?
Sure, and I sent earlier today to the board or to town council, who I know forwarded to the board, a chart that demonstrates that, but I'm happy to go through that for you. Most people, the vast majority of people at Leisure Woods pay exactly the same rent. That is the rent set in February of 2020 of $652.32. That's before the $12 municipal fee. So if your rent is other than that, that means you've been at Leisure Woods for a very long time before rent control, and there are some of you who have lower rent, but almost all of you pay the $652.32. As I said, there was no rent increase for 2021. The 2022 rent increase, as town council said a minute ago, was 5.3%, which was the number for the CPI from November to November, just prior to the submission of that. The back rent due for 2022 for 23 months for somebody at that rent is $795.11. And by the way, and that's the back rent for 2022. The 2023 increase, if approved today, and all of these we're assuming would be effective on January 1st of 24, because we want to give you 30 days notice after the hearing, and we can't do that sooner. So we've assumed that these will go into effect on January 1st if they're approved by the board tonight. So that's 2022. I'll come back and give you that number again when I'm done. 2023, the rent increase is $730. The rent increases to $734.97. That's a 7% increase over 2022, again, consistent with the 7% increase in the CPI. And the back rent owing for a person in that situation would be $528.88. So the catch-up rent for anybody at this rent would be the $795.11 from 2022, the $528.88 from 2023. The total of those two numbers is $1,323.99. And as I said, Leisure Woods will allow, I suppose is the better way to put it, allow residents to pay that over 12 months at $110.33 a month. Because we, as I said before, we know that $1,323.99 is a lot to make up right away. But I will remind everybody, this is rent that you would have paid if the increases were done appropriately. They weren't. We feel badly about that. We'll accept the rents, the catch-up spread out over 12 months starting January 1st. I hope that answers your question.
No.
And by the way, there are some people, I should have been, just for completeness, there are some people who've moved in since 2022 and 2023. And obviously, if you weren't there, we're not going to charge you a back rent, right? That's so if you're newer, your catch-up payment is less. If you pay a different rent because you've been in the community a very long time, there's only a few of those folks. Everything is proportionately lower. And we'll give you the exact numbers for everybody in a couple of days.
Would any other residents like to be heard before the board makes a vote? Yeah, I think just for record keeping purposes, this will be characterized as 2 votes. So I have Miss Patricia Vaca.
Yes.
Oh, my apologies. I believe you muted yourself.
I'm sorry, did you hear me?
No, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Does the board get to discuss this situation and the ramifications for the community before you vote, or it won't do us any good if they discuss it afterward? The agenda says that they're going to discuss the increases.
Yeah, board member, they can, if there's any questions or comments you want to make for the board, this is your opportunity. Oh, you have muted yourself again.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I just wondered if there's any possibility that we could discuss some kind of fair compromise I'm just concerned because I understand that, you know, they were within their rights to ask for this amount, and that the 2022 amount needs to be voted in the affirmative because, and the 2023 as well, because they asked for it in a proper manner. But my question is there any way we can convince the people who are in charge of this to show some grace and mercy? Because I'm just concerned that some of our more fragile people in our community are the ones that are going to be most at risk for not being able to afford this. And we don't want to drive people out of their homes. I don't know what kind of fair compromise we could work on, but could we discuss that?
You could, but frankly, the board has no authority or power or purview to compel that. I think hometowns actually, you know, they've done what they can by allowing the payments to be structured over a period of time, which they're under no legal obligation to do so. I think that they've I think that's a fair compromise they've already offered by allowing the payments to be dispersed. Unfortunately, the difficulty is that it's 2 years of back pay, in part because of the lawsuits that were filed, and we advised actually at the initial vote, this was a potential consequence of the litigation, that it was likely going to be unsuccessful, and we were going to be finding ourselves in this current situation where there's now 2 years of back pay.
Yeah, of course, the second year it was delayed because of the board, not because of anything that Leisure Woods did. That was because we didn't have enough people, and meetings had to be canceled and delayed, and so, you know, that piece of the delay wasn't on us really, and I don't know that it was to blame on anybody, but definitely it was not on us.
Correct,
So I'm not sure if there's anything that can be. I mean, clearly we can't make any decisions in that respect, but I'm wondering if there's anything more that could be offered to just soften this blow a little bit.
I'll let Attorney Laverty or Attorney Radigan give a response, but I would acknowledge that, you know, they have kind of given some compromise by permitting the payments to be dispersed over a period of time, and that per the board's bylaws, the petition satisfies all of the requirements that for the board, and the board has a prerogative to approve the petitions as they comply with all of the board's bylaws and regulations. But
we do appreciate the effort made to compromise with letting the underpayment be paid over time, but it's still going to be a real burden on some of our more fragile people.
Yeah, so we understand that, Ms. Sullivan and everybody else. We understand that this is and this is not, as I said before a couple times, this is not how we would have done it. We would have much preferred not to have 4 years of rent increases happen all at the same time. I realize it's only 2 years of rent increases, but it comes 4 years after the last rent increase. Over the period from February 1st, 2020 to February 1st, 2023, the increases over that time on an annual basis are 3.6%. Those are modest increases when you spread them out. Pretty nasty when you have 1 year, which is 7%. I totally understand that. But Hometown's not in a position to do something less than CPI. It is, we paid a lot to get to this point, and we're not in a position to do more. I should have mentioned, though, we're very cognizant of the fact that there may be individual cases where this is a real problem. And in those cases, Hometown has authorized me to let you all know that if there is a particular financial case that's difficult, then you should talk to Josephine in the next few days and we'll figure something out. Hometown wants to be reasonable. We totally recognize this might be a lot for some people to swallow. So individual cases where we can spread it out longer or do something to address a particular person's need. We don't want to drive anyone out of the community, but that would have to be done on piece by piece, I'm afraid.
I think we'll have a few other, Ms. Vaca, will you, we'll go to Ms. Holt. I believe we'll you raise your hand if you'd like to add a comment before the board votes.
Yes, I'm just I'm putting these figures together, and I think what I see is that the back due is 110 and change per month. And that would be added to the new rent of $734.97, which means we'd be looking at an increase from our current $664 or whatever it is to $845.30 per month for a whole. That's an incredible jump for most of us who live on a very limited income.
No, we get it, and you've done the math right. It's about an $80 a month increase in the rent, assuming the petitions are approved.
No, it's 110. Based
Well,
on your new figures that you gave to us.
It goes from 652 to 734. So 652.32, which is the
Oh,
current
okay, I
rent,
see what you're talking about, right.
to 734. So it's about an $80. I'm just talking rough numbers. It's about $80, 82, I guess.
And then it's around
in rent,
110.
and then it's 110 for the catch-up payment. That's
Yeah.
right. It's still $200. We get it,
It's a huge jump.
almost 200.
Yeah.
And it's just for that year during which the catch-up payments would be paid. But yes, we get it.
Okay. I don't know how, I know for me, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but
Is it, well, from everyone to be heard, but it seems like, as Attorney Radigan said, there's a mechanism for if you have expected issues with making the payments. There's a mechanism through Hometown Leisure Woods to contact a representative to see if they can make an individual, compromise or some form of plan with the member. But for the purposes of the meeting, it's mainly just the board's purview of whether or not the petition is compliant with the rules and regulations. Next, I have the woman named Robin. Your hand is raised. Do you have a question or comment before the board votes?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay. My name is Robin Marrier. I live on 3 First Circle. My question is, I've talked to many people that live in environments like this, and I don't understand, especially with this huge increase, why we can't see where our money is going. Why do they not show their books? At the end of the year, why aren't we able to see where our money is going? Now you're getting all this additional money, and I thought that's a law. You have to show your books as to where our money is going. We have no idea. I want the books to be open.
So it's not a law. And it is the funds that you pay as rent go towards the maintenance of the community, all of the costs associated with the community and the cost of Hometown buying the park years ago, and and everything that goes into it. Just like a tenant doesn't get to see the landlord's books, it is unusual in most states to for the communities to open their books. And yes, it does happen from time to time. I acknowledge that there are communities in which you have to go through and prove that financially you're not over earning. I can tell you that last time we were here 2 years ago, we showed a CPI chart over the last 10 years and how the rents at Leisure Woods had increased. And it was pretty striking that because of the low inflation during those years, there was almost no rent increases, and they were very modest. We realize this is a higher period of inflation, but every cost that everybody has is higher. But it's not the law. It's not required. It's not something that most communities do.
And I think that you're hiding something.
I don't know.
It's not right.
I don't know what we'd be
right.
hiding.
I'm sorry. It's just not right that we can't see where our money is going. You guys are collecting an awful lot of money from us in here, and we haven't had landscaping for 2 years. Where did all that money go? I'm sorry. I'm just very angry and disappointed. We get trash removal and pays our land taxes. I'm sorry. I don't see where our money is going. Just don't. You know, give us something a little bit more than just trash pickup. Yeah, we have a pool, and my uncle lives in Middleborough, same town, hometown America, and he said he's paying $800, and they get their shovels, their driveways done, and their landscaping done, and mowing their lawns, and water and sewer is included. We pay water and sewer here. So for $800, what they're getting is so much more and more amenities there. So you just keep taking and taking and taking, and I'm just not seeing much for it.
All right, well, I give your comment, but I would just reiterate to Rob and all other more members, any residents, that I just, if you let everyone have an opportunity to be heard, and I understand you may have some personal individual grievances with the property, but for the board's purview, unless there is a pending housing court claim or Board of Health action, that's the only considerations the board can consider as potential grounds not to improve and increase compliance with CPI. And as the moment of the hearing, the board has received no such petition, notice, or notice of any action from any resident. So continue to be heard, but please keep that in mind within the purview that unless there is an identified pending housing court action or Board of Health action, the board can't even consider other information as grounds to deny a rental increase that's compliant with CPI, which both increases are. Ms. Patricia Vaca, your hand is still raised. I just want to from before.
Yes.
If you
May
did
I
you have a
ask
new
one-
comment?
May I ask one question?
May.
According to the rules and regs of Rockland Rent Control Board, CPI doesn't need to be shown. I understand that. And they are due to, their hometown is due a rent increase every year based on the CPI, which has been outrageously high the last 2 years. We all understand this. But we add the $110 on, out of hometown's largesse. They let us pay it for a year, which brings everybody's rent up another $200 starting in January, I believe, is what Mr. Radigan said.
That's right.
What happens in February? You're going to come in for a 2024 rent increase to add to what we were just starting up on, catching up on 2022 and 2023. None of which hasn't, the delays had nothing to do with us. There was a problem with the definition of the word resident that caused us to go into a lawsuit, but that lawsuit was brought by hometown. It had, it had nothing to do with the people of Rockland. And yes, I've told them all to save their money, but the fact remains, some people just don't have the money to save. And as Sue mentioned, the people who are the most fragile in our community are the people who've lived there the longest, and they're there on Social Security. And this increase is historic in that no other increase has ever put people in jeopardy of losing their homes.
So
So are we going to go, as bad as this is, in February of 2024, hometown comes again for the 2024 rent increase, which is running about 3 right now?
Yeah, inflation, that's right. Inflation's running a little higher than 3% right now. And based on the November 2023 CPI report, we are eligible for an increase in February of 24. Yes.
Outrageous, just outrageous. I understand we haven't had a rent increase in 4 years. I understand all that. The fact remains that this is damaging to so many people in this community.
Well, we totally understand that. And as I've said, this is not how we would like to do it. We don't want to be in this position. We wish we weren't in this position. We wish it was predictable. And it isn't. It hasn't been. We hope it will be in the future. It has not been. And but it's not because hometown hasn't been forthright and filed its applications every time we're supposed to. And we've limited to CPI every year since the rule was put in. We have limited our increase to CPI, which we're not required to do, but we have. Yes. And it's, we do understand, and to the prior speaker's point about the community, people at Hometown are, listening to this, and will listen to the recording and take your comments into account, of course. But as for the financial impact, again, I can only say we wish we weren't in this situation. We really do.
Thank you for your input. I believe the next M. Duff, you had your hand raised. I should unmute if you'd like to have a question or comment for the board or Attorney Radigan.
The 7 Eagle Lane resident as of August 26, 2022. You have the information that that's going to be prorated.
I apologize. Whoever's speaking, can you come closer to the? You seem to be fairly far away from the microphone. We can't hear what you're saying.
Go for it, Mary. My name is Mary Hassett. I'm a new resident as of August 26, 2022. Will this be prorated for me for the 8 months that I was not here in 2022? Oh,
No.
Well, how did? Well, yes.
No, you won't. Nobody will pay for any month in which you didn't live here.
Okay, so
You don't owe the back rent for the prior owner. That's lost. Nope, nobody. Yes, when you get your notice, it'll have a smaller catch-up payment than people who have been here since prior to 2022, because we are not going to charge anybody for months that they weren't there. So, and if you get a notice and it's the numbers that I read out earlier, then somebody made a mistake. But that won't happen. You won't be paying that.
What I contact in that case?
Josephine, the community manager.
Thank you, Attorney Radigan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your comment. Next, Judy Boyd, you had your hand raised. If you have a question or comment, state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. So Judy Boyd, 49 Leisure Woods Drive. So I didn't put a couple comments in there just so people are aware. I want to make sure that we're being actually forthright and telling the truth on what's going on here, because the money that's coming into Hometown is significant. It is, a very large raise. It may not seem like a lot to, someone that is paying, oh, you're only paying $30 extra, you're only paying $40 extra. Well, if you look at the total amount that is coming in to Hometown, it is outrageously high for something that, like Robin said, we get zero benefits. And that's absolutely the truth. We've had 2 years of no landscaping, 2 years of no maintenance except for the clubhouse, which they did just so they can impress people that are coming in, and that's the main reason. And then on top of that, we're also looking at, this like Pat has said, this is something that we have so many people that are not going to be able to afford this, that are going to lose their homes, that are going to end up having to move into senior housing. We've already had a ton of people move out of this, which on top of that is kind of like the fact that the manager can sell houses in here, so she's getting money every single time someone moves out, is kind of, that's a little sketchy to say the least. There's a lot of things in here that are not being addressed. And I know you can't do anything, but we never get these conversations with Hometown America because they won't come to the table with us. We've asked them to come to the table and to make some better decisions, and they refuse to come to the table. So.
All right, thank you for your comment.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other residents who'd like to make a presentation, or Board Member Sullivan? Oh, so you're muted still.
I just wanted to make sure, I have a quick question. When we're being assessed this, if someone moves out after this, how does that work? For all these like past rents and stuff, are those assessed against the homeowner when they sell? Is that, I'm just curious how that works. I'm not honestly, I just wanted to find out.
Honestly, this has never happened before.
Sure.
So we don't know. I would say that the obligation is a back obligation. So it would be an obligation of somebody when they sell their home and move out. Mm-hmm. We've never done this before. We're spreading out the back rent over 12 months as an accommodation to people. And so, yes, I would assume that it would be an obligation that would need to be taken care of when you sell your unit. Thank you for asking the question. We hadn't really thought of it, to be honest with you. This is all new to us too.
I'm sure. I mean, I understand that we have to vote in the affirmative. I just want it clear that I'm not actually okay with it all. Just to be clear. But I guess we really don't have any choices if nothing else is going to be offered. So but thank you for what you're doing at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, M. Duff, you would raise your hand if you have another question or comment. Just ask you to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Maureen Duffy, 1S in Leisure Woods. I did have a question. I understand that the board needs to vote this evening, and that's their ultimate goal, and we all understand which way they're going to go. But I am pleading with Hometown America is on this call. Is that correct?
Yes.
Josephine is on the call? And so
believe
is
so.
Kyle? I haven't seen their names, so I was.
Yes, we're on the call.
Excellent. I am pleading to Kyle and Josephine to make it their mission to help out the residents here at Leisure Woods. And again, I remind everybody that the board is going to vote this evening. But I think going forward after tonight's vote, that Hometown America comes to the plate and helps out all of us, but especially the older residents of this community. Pat Barker and the rest of the group, they worked their tails off in the past 3 or 4 years, I'm sure, since all this court issues and so on were going on. And they need to be satisfied as well as the rest of the residents. And I am pleading with Kyle and Josephine to step up to the plate and do something for us residents. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for your comment. We'll have it for the record. Joan Haley, you had raised your hand. You're unmuted if you have a question or comment for the board.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, so I'm wondering where the money that Hometown America was supposed to spend to refinish our roads, and they waited and left us with very dangerous conditions for people walking on those roads until National Grid came and did the roads and paid for them.
Kyle, I don't know if you want to respond to that. National Grid didn't pay for the roads. National Grid paid for their pavement, their portion of the roads. They didn't pay for the whole roads. Hometown paid for the balance. Hometown paid more than National Grid did. And I understand the roads were finished like today or yesterday or something, but I don't know, Kyle, whether you want to say anything else about that.
Yeah, John, I can add to that just a little bit. I mean, we did finish the majority, all of our planned paving for this year. National Grid, as you're aware, did a almost 2.5-year upgrade of all the natural gas infrastructure in the community. And with that work, they obviously had to cause disruption to some of the roads with their trenching and other activities. So when any project like that National Grid is doing, they're responsible for the restoration of the property. So National Grid did provide us with funds that would cover the cost of the areas of the roadways that they disturbed in their work. And then Hometown contributed on top of that a very large, significant investment at our direction with vendors that we bid out and selected on our own. And that work was just completed, like John said. And we are very close to about 80% of all the roadways being repaved at the community, which was a very large investment for us. And we are committed to continue each year with paving until we've completed all the roads. And I think I would like to say thanks to the residents, because I know to go through the national grid project with all the disruptions and construction with that, and then go right into having the roads in front of your homes paved and having to have inconveniences on how you exit the community and how you drive your car and get to appointments and all that. So I appreciate your patience during this time. And I've seen drone videos of the new paving. It looks beautiful. It looks like a brand new community with the new roads. So that's the end of my comment on the roadways.
All right, thank you. Are there any other resident comments or questions before the board votes? See, none. If just to keep things organized, the first vote would be for the 5.3% increase for February 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2023. Is a board member able to petition that for that up for the vote?
I'd like to petition that up for vote, please.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, so Member Sullivan, how do you vote?
I vote in the affirmative. Thank you.
Board Member Dennehy? I'm sorry, you kind of cut off. We only heard I vote. So
I vote in favor.
thank you. Ms. Sina?
I vote in favor.
Ms. Primavera?
In favor.
Ms. Ripley?
In favor.
All right. Matter passes 5-0. Similarly, for the Leisure Woods petition to increase compliance with CPI of a 7% increase from February 1st, 2023 to January 31st, 2024. Do we have a member putting that as an option for a vote before the board?
I'll put it forward.
Do we have a second?
I will second that.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Sullivan, how do you vote?
I reluctantly vote in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Dennehy?
I vote in favor.
Ms. Sina?
I vote in favor.
Ms. Primavera?
In favor.
And Ms. Ripley?
In favor.
Thank you, board members. Matter passes 5-0. Remaining on the board's agenda, others can remain if they like, is the 2 eviction petitions submitted by Hillcrest in compliance with the board's rules and regulations. Is Attorney Laverty present if you'd like to briefly speak on the 2 petitions?
Yes, good evening, Rent Control members. This is Mark Laverty. I am the attorney that represents the Hillcrest manufactured home community. And before the board tonight is 2 requests for certificates of eviction made by Hillcrest. Both of these petitions are based upon non-payment of rent. And in essence, the Hillcrest is requesting from the board permission to commence an eviction case in the Southeast Housing Court. In essence, they're seeking permission to start a legal action against the tenant. It's not an automatic eviction. It's just allowing the landlord to start the process. Any resident has every right to defend themselves during that process. So the first petition that I have before the board is for 67 Fairview Street. That is based upon a non-payment of rent notice to quit that was served by the landlord on January 11th of 2023. At that point, there was a balance owed on the account of $1,629.70 in rent only. As of this date, the resident has not cured or paid off the balance of rent. and there is still an outstanding balance of $1,432.13. And we're requesting that this board issue a certificate of eviction so that Hillcrest may move forward.
Is there any resident or member who would like to speak on in pertaining to the certificate of eviction for 67 Fairview Street before the board votes? Seeing none, if a member of the board would like to initiate a petition for the board to vote.
I vote in favor.
Well, just to clarify, so we have a petition. Is there a second for it to be voted upon?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So for the petition for 67 Fairview Street, Ms. Sullivan, how do you vote?
In favor?
Thank you, Ms. Dennehy.
In favor?
Thank you, Ms. Sina.
In favor.
Thank you, Ms. Primavera.
In favor?
Thank you, and Ms. Ripley.
In favor.
Thank you, board members. Attorney Laverty, is there a second petition that you wish to discuss before the board?
Yes, there's a second petition for 26 of Balsam Street. And that is also based upon a non-payment or rent notice to quit that was served by the landlord back on January 5th of 2023. At that time, there was an outstanding balance of $1,646.71. That resident has not made any payments since that notice to quit was served. And the outstanding balance right now through the end of November is $5,349.68. And again, we're requesting that this board issue a certificate of eviction so that Hillcrest can move forward with an eviction action.
Josephine Santa Fe, if you could please state your full name and address for the record. You have a question or
Sure.
comment?
My name is Josephine Santa Fe, and I am the property manager at Leisure Woods in Rockland in Live Oaks Village. And I just wanted to say that I do appreciate and very thankful for Pat Vaca, the president of the HOA, for working very closely with Hometown America management team. Her and I work very closely together, and for us, we just move forward in the community to provide the best service we can for the community. And Pat, I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and what you have done to help us out to achieve our goals in Hometown America. Thank you again, Pat.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Is any other person like to be heard on the before the board votes on the eviction petition for 26 Balsam Street? Seeing none, is a member of the board be willing to petition assert that for vote before the board?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Member Sullivan, how do you vote for the eviction petition of 26 Balsam Street?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Dennehy.
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Sina.
You already called me, but in favor.
Ms. Primavera.
In favor.
Thank you. And Ms. Ripley.
In favor.
All right, thank you. Matter passes. That concludes the intended agenda for the board. Unless the board members want to raise a new issue that wasn't anticipated before, they may do so now. Otherwise, that would conclude today's hearing. I see none. I thank you all for your comments and time. We'll be issuing a formal record of the board's decision and vote in compliance with the rules and regulations, and that'll be posted as required. I thank you all for your time and participation, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Good night.